Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to demystify that totally intimidating folder structure you see in modern development environments. And we're actually building a real professional-grade Node.js blueprint completely from scratch. You know that feeling when you open up a new codebase and just feel instantly overwhelmed by all those scattered configuration files? Yeah, we've all been there. So if you're tired of that feeling, you're in the exact right place. Let's get into it.
All right, here is our game plan for this blueprint. We're covering installing Node like a pro, the heartbeat of it all, package.json, the recipe versus the meal, what you absolutely must keep secret, setting up your project's command center, and finally, the entry point.
So let's kick things off with Section 1, installing Node like a pro.
Okay, first big question we gotta tackle. How do we actually install Node without setting ourselves up for massive version conflict headaches later on? I mean, sure, the amateur way is just downloading the installer straight from the website, but that locks you into exactly one version. And the second you have a new project that needs a different version, you are stuck doing manual uninstalls. It is super tedious and honestly super error-prone. The pro solution? You gotta use Node Version Manager or NVM. It lets you cleanly and instantly switch between different project requirements right on the fly. So what exactly is NVM? Well, after a super quick install with just a single curl command and a quick shell restart, it basically becomes your personal version bouncer. It lets you fetch exactly what you need when you need it. You can have as many versions of Node installed as you want and instantly, literally instantly, jump between them with one quick terminal instruction. Real game changer.
And this perfectly illustrates why the pros stick to LTS, long-term support. You see, instead of constantly chasing the bleeding edge and dealing with those random breaking changes, LTS is the rock-solid, well-maintained version that massive companies actually trust to run their production apps for years. And with NVM, grabbing that latest LTS version just takes a few seconds.
Moving right along to Section 2, the heartbeat, your package.json file. All right, with our environment set up, let's plant the seed. When you run npm init, and hey, actually take the time to answer the prompts instead of just hitting enter through all of them, you generate your package.json. This thing is literally the heartbeat of your project. It's got all your vital fields, your project's identifier, the semantic version, the main entry point. It tells any developer who looks at it exactly what the project is, what it depends on, and who maintains it. It's the absolute core of your app.
Okay, Section 3, the recipe and the meal. Now, what's really fascinating is what happens under the hood when we install a third-party package. Let's say we pull in the classic utility library, Lodash. The moment you run npm install, three things happen instantly. First, your package.json gets updated. Second, npm automatically creates a package-lock.json file. This is crucial for deterministic version matching, basically guaranteeing your teammates get the exact same version you did. And third, it generates that massive node_modules folder, downloading hundreds of necessary files.
To totally demystify how this all works, I want you to burn this golden rule into your brain. Your package.json is the recipe, and node_modules is the meal. You share the recipe. You never share the meal. Anyone cloning your project just needs to run npm install to, cook their own meal right there on their local machine. And hey, it's absolutely crucial to separate your ingredients here. Your standard dependencies, those are the production-ready packages your app actually needs to run on the server. But devDependencies, which you add using that -save-dev flag, those are just local tools meant only for development. Keeping these two separated is what keeps your production environment lean, fast, and incredibly secure. For example, installing a tool like Nodemon as a dev dependency, absolute game changer. It basically sits there and watches your files. So instead of you having to manually kill and restart your server every single time you hit save, Nodemon just handles it automatically. It is such a massive time saver. Which brings us to Section 4, what to keep secret.
So we've got our meal prep done, right?
But before we go any further, we need to build a secure fence around our project to protect it. Knowing exactly what to keep out of version control is just as important as what goes in. Which naturally brings up a huge question. Why on earth should you never, ever commit that giant node_modules folder to Git?
Well, because it would completely bloat your repository with hundreds of megabytes of code that isn't even yours. I mean, there's a reason we always joke that Node_modules is literally the heaviest object in the universe. So to solve this, we set up a .gitignore file to act as our club's VIP bouncer. It permanently blocks Node_modules, keeps out that annoying .ds_store noise if you're on a Mac, filters out random server logs, and most importantly, it stops your highly sensitive .env credentials from ever leaking onto the internet. But here's the catch. Your team still needs to know how to set up their local environment, right? So as a pro habit, you always want to create and commit a .env.example file. Think of it as a safe blueprint or template. It shows your teammates exactly what environment variables they need to get up and running without actually revealing a single real database password or API key. All right, let's jump to Section 5, your project's command center. Let's take a look at how this all ties into the brain of our operations. The scripts section inside your package.json, that is essentially the public interface of your project. It explicitly lays out how anyone can start the app for production, how to spin it up locally for development using Nodemon, or how to run the test suite. Anyone jumping into your codebase can glance right here and instantly know how to drive the car. Now just keep this one little NPM quirk in mind because it trips up a lot of people. Built-in scripts like start and test, those run directly. You literally just type npm start. But custom scripts like our dev script, those actually require you to type out the word run, as in npm run dev. Actually, scratch that. It's not a quirk. It's just how the CLI routes commands. But knowing this early on is going to save you a ton of unnecessary terminal frustration. And finally, we arrive at Section 6, the entry point. Everything we've built, configured, and locked down so far leads us exactly right here, creating index.js. This is our main entry point, the place where our code actually comes alive. So inside index.js, let's write a quick script that reads our own setup. We'll pull in our built-in modules, use that double_dir name variable to securely resolve our absolute path, read our package.json straight from the disk, and then just elegantly print out some of those extracted properties right to the console. And here's where the magic happens. When we fire up npm run dev, Nodemon instantly starts watching that entry point, meaning the literal second we edit and save our code, our terminal flashes the new output without us touching a thing. Edit, save, see the result. Bam. That right there, that is the professional development loop in action.
Okay, let's do a really quick recap of our codebase anatomy, because this truly is the foundation for any pro node setup. Think of package.json as the brain. Package-lock.json, that's your deterministic version lock. Node_modules is the massive generated bulk. Your gitignore is the immune system keeping the bad stuff out. .env.example provides your safe template for secrets. And index.js, well, that's your entry point where the whole show starts.
So you now completely understand the professional foundation of a single file node project. You've gone from a totally empty folder to a working, secure, pro-level setup. But here is something to chew on. As your application scales, and it inevitably will grow, how are you going to organize and export your code cleanly across dozens of files without creating a totally tangled spaghetti code mess? Think on that for a bit, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.